Hey traders, welcome back to Swing Trading. My name is Mike Fairborn. It's good to be back here with you today, folks. Today we're going to take a look at, finding and looking, seeking out some of the swing trades that are unfolding in technology because the underlying group of technology does look fairly interesting, I'd say, to a number of traders in terms of the possibility of a swing trade breakout along the lines of a possible bull flag or possible other patterns. So happy to look at that with you all today. I think it's going to be an interesting area to focus in on. Big welcome to each of you. Here we've got today, we got KB, we've got Michael, Robert, and we've got Rob and others here. Hello to you, Will, as well as Sharon, Ginger, Rojo, Jay Richardson. Welcome all. And Riceberg and some others joining us here, Mighty Mouse and Nurse. But hey, folks, if you aren't new to our discussion, just to let you know, we do look at that time frame that is shorter term in nature, about 3 days to about up to a month in terms of the swing trade. So within the strength of the move to the upside, we're really trying to gather just the breakouts or the formation of a possible flag pattern within a longer term trend. So really trying to capture that portion of the trend itself where a lot of the strength does exist. And so looking forward to going into that in detail with you. Any questions or comments, throw those into the chat. Got a good friend and colleague of mine here with us today, Brent Moores, great coach and instructor. Folks, be sure to follow him on X as well, Brent Moores CS. I'm Mike Fairborn CS. Let's hit some disclosures though so we can get rolling here. The material today is intended for general informational and education purposes only. Now, options carry a high level of risk and are not suitable for all investors. The Paper Money software application is provided for educational purposes only. Investing involves risk, including the loss of principal for some products, strategies more than your initial investment. There's no guarantee that the execution of a stop order will be at or near the stop price, and past performance is no guarantee of future results. Dividends are not guaranteed. Final note here, we do use futures on the charts frequently enough, but it's only for the charts. And so just futures, if futures options trading does involve substantial risk, not suitable for all investors. All right. Well, with that, I want to get started off here first, just diving right on into the S&P 500, just see how we're doing in relationship to that longer term, and you can see it right there, extension of that bull flag pattern, possible breakout that we've seen. It's kind of on a weekly basis, right? It's a little bit longer term, but this right over here, yeah, kind of a strong upward move here, consolidation followed by a possible follow through. We've already got indications and signs of a breakout occurring right over here across these highs, right, and extending above this range. It actually broke a short-term downward sloping trend line, but it broke it to the upside here, and we have gone flat. Now, all else equal, if we see something like that happen in the markets, in fact, if we see, just like generally speaking, a move where you break up above a high and you basically um, consolidate here. In a lot of cases, you might just be holding your gains. I mean, just that, I mean, you are holding your gains, but you just might not be getting nearly the amount of selling pressure that oftentimes you could get. And so that could be a really interesting setup for a possible bull flag within the longer term bull flag. So if this bull flag is forming over here, setting up like a bit of a triangle type pattern, and of course, on a short-term scale, those can also have a projected range as well to reach as we are, kind of nearing, actually, I guess you could say, the possibility of an apex coming up of the triangle where those two trend lines converge. But yeah, can we break above this level and get going? Oftentimes, on a really short-term basis, we might move the length of the largest leg of that ABCDE triangle. If we're talking about Elliott wave there, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we'll see how that unfolds. But again, if it does break higher, this could be a bigger, right? We have a couple of different things that could push us up, but there's kind of the longer term flag if it does in fact do that. In fact, it can do a lot of different things. But let's back out of this. I'm going to take off my Fibonacci's. They've run their course. Oops, let's not take everything off. Well, that's fine too. Actually, it's easier to see. It had broken down below a longer term triangle. But the bigger picture that I wanted to kind of highlight here for you was this right here, was this particular move, and the fact that we came down, 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 down. We are clearly above this higher range, and maybe again, just like we saw in the S&P 500, there could be a larger pattern at play here. And if that unfolds, that could also be, you know, some traders would say that that could be kind of a boost too for this move developing and being able to run within that range. And by the way, it's not so much that this pattern right here, this full leg matches our swing trade, because clearly that's greater than three to whatever 21 days or market days, up to a month, right? It's greater than that. But it's these little patterns within the pattern that we could be looking for here. So that's really, really interesting as well. I want to go into the grid chart over here so that we're looking at technology itself. And you can see that technology collectively, in terms of the S&P 500, as we're looking at the 11 groups within the S&P 500 here, 11, I should say, sectors. But if I maximize this sell grid right here, you're going to see that flag pattern looks a lot better than the NASDAQ collectively, right? When we just looked at the NASDAQ index. So if we just break down tech itself, technology seems to be holding up better in terms of a flag. And you can already see here that it's showing more strength than, let's say, the NASDAQ, right? The NASDAQ hasn't really cleared some prior highs yet, but we did see some strength in the NASDAQ. It's just that within the NASDAQ, technology is could really play a key role. Now it's true we are looking at the S&P 500 sectors, but I think maybe every single one of the tech stocks in the S&P are, let's see, I think they're in the NASDAQ, but there might be a couple that are missing. Again, though, the NASDAQ is roughly approximately 67%. It might be a little bit higher technology. And that's across a range of technology stocks though, right? So what I'm getting at here is it could be a really interesting area because we have maybe the market, NASDAQ, we have the sector, technology, and then finally the companies that could be showing some strength as well. So I want to dive into that. But let me just do this. Before I forget though, there was a comment in the ThinkScript class that I taught last week, which was the most complex script that I've ever done, tried to do. We did get a scan out of it, but I had to state that I wanted to repost the label. There's a label over here, a label ThinkScript. And by the way, ThinkScripts aren't guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy. But if I go into label, there was a question about the IV label that came in, implied volatility. Let me just share this with everybody. And I noted in some of the comments after that class that I would repost it within this swing trade class, but I'll just share it real quick so you have it. Oh, I go here to share. That's right. And share up top. I'll put this into the chat. In fact, let me just do this. These will also be below the recorded session. You'll need to click on more. And then below more, there's a description field. And below description, there are links in there. I'm going to have a couple more links probably today that I'm going to share with you just based on our discussion. But this one is the labels. Okay, and this is the correct one. I did try to copy it last time. I just didn't post the right one, but there you have it. Okay. And it shows that hopefully my chat is connected. Did you guys get that? I sent it right after it said chat disconnected, and then it said connected. So, okay, it's back connected. I said it twice just in case. This is as simple as it gets, and we can put in anything in here. This just happened to be implied volatility, folks. There are a number of different indicators, obviously, that we could input here within ThinkScript into the code itself. This just happens to be implied volatility, and we have set it up in this fashion. We've defined IV, and we put some information out here for it to post. Anyhow, wanted to show you that that is the script, and showed you where to post it. And by the way, since I shared it, I want to show you another process. I'm going to go once you have that code, just copy it, go to open shared items, and you can post that code right in this box. Hit preview. Name it though. Make sure you name it exactly what it is, the label, a label, script, or IV, whatever the case might be. You can put it in there. And then remember, the scripts are connected to whatever library we're using. In this case, it is on the charts. And so that's why when I saved it, I could go into the charts and basically just find it that way, right? Label, there it is. I mean, it's the IV label right there. Okay, implied volatility label, you have it there. You can have it list whatever you want it to list, but whatever indicator, but that's the process, that's where it's at, and that's how you pull it up. Now, we could also go into scans too, and those are different as well. Of course, when you're in a scan and you post it, you got to go into the scan. Now, I'll get to that in just a second, but okay, back to our discussion. So I had to get that from last week's discussion, but we saw strength in the market. We saw strength within the group, the larger basket of technology specifically. And now we're going to dive right into some stocks that are maybe setting up that could be somewhat interesting. The first one here is a little bit similar, but it's had a kind of a bit of a bigger breakout. This is fascinating. I'm just going to keep this on the chart here for just a minute, but I wanted to highlight, look at this. So this did break down. These are interesting because when they break up on these big moves, sometimes they will respect these Fibonacci levels. These are, some traders would call this kind of the big three, the 38.2, 50, 61.8. And a lot of traders say, I've got to at least hold the 61.8 if I want to believe that this is going to actually, bounce up higher, something like that. So the thing I wanted to point out here is you can see now that I'm just going to take this off. Hang on one second. Click, pull this over here. And now we can remove it. Okay. So we don't have the fibs on here, but the point I wanted to note was that there could be an extension to the upside here if you guys see it. I mean, that's a pretty strong breakout move. We did clear, I mean, some prior highs, right? And that's an interesting indication for a possibility of a trend to the upside, right? Because if we break out here, if we rally, and by the way, it's post earnings, well, if that happens, then there could be a longer term, pattern at stake here at play. I'm going to quickly just highlight and show you how we might measure that just using Thinkorswim tools. I'm just using the diagonal line. Click on it one time. I am going to elect to right click and then just duplicate and just pull it over off of our bottom. So you can get a sense of where the longer term move might occur, right? But within that longer term move, you guys are really good at spotting this. Within the longer term move, well, we're seeing something like we'd seen before. Kind of already the possibility of a pattern forming, and maybe that extends up through here as well. The 300 level could be interesting. It's a big round number. Maybe we might find some resistance at that level too, but there you have it. Now, a quick note on this is using the money flow, which is similar to unbalanced volume. You can see that it actually has been extending higher as well. That is a positive. Well, I'm not seeing this across the board with all the technology stocks, but this one I am seeing. We saw some general momentum from RSI as well. The volume has really, really died over here as we've consolidated. But again, that can be something that traders would look for around the prior support level. So it is a down day today, but the question is could we, start to spike up higher here and move? And so with that, we could kind of anticipate, and I'm going to do this. Actually, I'll keep that one on in terms of that trend. I'm going to take these off though. These were for another class, but if I come over here and I go to a 30-minute chart now and I just draw off that high, well, let me get the right drawing tool. It's the same diagonal line over here. Had a different one set up on that different time frame. But if I click on this and I go down right here. So this could be interesting too, because it could give us the first indications of that trend changing on a shorter term basis. I mean, it's difficult to do that. I mean, we can do it on the daily chart, and you actually could. I just thought I'd give us a little bit more data to see here on the 30-minute. But I'm going to do this too. I want to tap into these capabilities of Thinkorswim. I'm going to right click. I'm going to come down to create an alert with the drawing so that I can get, either emailed or texted if it does take out that level. Let's just do this. I'm going to state over here, let's see, crosses above, just say trend line break, question mark, and click on create. Now, before I do that though, make sure you have your notify push push notifications on mobile device, and then send that through. Again, if you don't have the whole thing set up, go to setup, up top right hand corner, application settings, and then scoot on down, excuse me, to the right, move to the right under notifications so you can set that up. Now, I did want to state too, just quickly, that alerts aren't guaranteed to be triggered, you know, to alert us every single time. There's no substitute for actually watching the prices. I've been using them for years. I haven't had any issues. Mine have gone through, but we just state that, yeah, there's no guarantee on the alerts because it's operating behind the scenes. And sometimes there can be issues, but like I said, I haven't. I use a ton of alerts, but there you go, folks. So I wanted to look at this, but before we do this and just say, it's breaking, one thing you could do too, what some traders might do, is just start an initial position. Have you guys have noticed this? If we start an initial position here, and prices go down, but it's a smaller position, let's just say it's, I don't know, plus 20. Let's say we're looking to maybe get, it's a $270 stock. It's not cheap. It's about 27,000 per 100 shares. But if I wanted to just get up to 100 shares in total, and I'm going to do about a fifth of that, right? Just a fifth of the initial position. It hasn't done anything yet. We're starting, some might do half or, 50 shares or whatever. But if you'll notice, one interesting thing here is that it does get us started. And if it does go against us, right, and we start to go down, and let's say we were looking to, put in a potential exit level down here, or whatever the case might be, or let's say we can give it a little bit of rope to move around. We're just only, I mean, we're losing, $20 per point, which is a lot less. And that's another key benefit when you're starting off small, um, as you're waiting for a signal to occur. Now, maybe if it takes out the trend line or breaks above the high, maybe a break above this high, there could be an additional sort of purchase of shares too over here, along those lines as well, if it's breaking up and confirming or giving an expectation that it's going to actually run up. So I still wanted to kind of get us started with this one. And I'm fine doing it just looking at a 30-minute chart. But I'm going to come over here on the trade tab and right click, just put in a example trade here. I'm going to go ahead and do the OCO bracket. Push this down. We'll go GTC on our two potential exit orders, and coming over here, we'll lock this in and go 20, just tab through it so everything lines up. So it should be interesting there. I'm going to set this one up. We can always move it from here, but I mentioned earlier that big round number at 300. I'm going to set this one down maybe 5 points or so. Um, or 267, somewhere in there. But let's go ahead and just take a look at what we've got here. And okay, can just confirm that on the order dialog box. I've sent that through. We'll see if we get that trade. But okay, I'll back this out so you can just kind of see what we're doing here. We're looking for, these swing trade setups within technology, folks, kind of bouncing, holding around, and then the possibility of breaking right there. All right, and it looks like Brent has got that question there. Oh yeah, money flow. So money flow, question, quick comment on money flow. It does try to, basically money flow looks for accumulation or distribution of shares. In fact, basically the way it does it, if you're closing up on the day relative to the prior day, in other words, up on the day or up on the bar, if we're looking at intraday, but daily here, it adds all of the volume to the money flow. So it's not an oscillator. It can go up, extensively. It can go down as well over periods of time, but we're just looking for more buyers than sellers is one way that traders would use the money flow. And I just noticed that it was breaking higher, which is why I brought that up. All right, on to our next one, NVIDIA. Okay, do you guys see a similar kind of a theme? Now, it's a different type of stock well, within technology altogether, right? It's in a different industry within the technology sector. But you can see over here, there are some interesting things setting up here too. In fact, if I take this out, boy, I just have a ton of drawings. Let me just take these all out collectively. I'm just going to do this. So clear the drawing set and I'll highlight a couple of different details. But you'll notice over here that there might be this larger gap in play as well. Let's step back. Let's talk about the trend. What is the trend? How do we identify the trend? Well, it's taking out higher levels off of a range, right? A higher high, higher low. But then we consolidated again and we held around that 190. Now, if I come over here and I look at that Fibonacci, where are you? Right there. Let's click on it. Let's pull it up. I oftentimes will go close. I mean, generally I go closing prices. Let me just activate this. Yeah, it's not much off the bottom, but there you go. We were, I guess we technically did close down one bar below the 61.8 before we reversed above. Now there's a little bit of a break, actually a really good break over here. This same break though is all the way back from here. This high, you can see it here, it hits here, here, and here. We took it out. Once we crossed below that level, folks, it wasn't easy to get above. But we did, I mean, it took a while, but we got above it and we're just still doing the exact same thing that the market is right now in terms of technology stocks, NDX, right? It's just in that tight range. A quick note, we do have earnings coming up on this one though. So remember, Amazon gapped up on the earnings. Nvidia is right here. We shall see what we get with it, though. I don't know if you guys caught last week the news on this. I think it was SpaceX. You could always check the news, but that gap, though, SpaceX basically just chose Nvidia exclusively. There's some other news again today, but it's really not holding much ground on it. Some would consider positive news, but there you go. Money flow, ticking up a little bit, some momentum from RSI as well. And there we go. So I'm going to wait on this one, but again, we could set alerts through here if we wanted to. Here is a very, very interesting level of support that we're kind of bouncing off of. If I was looking at a target range, where might that lie? Let's get rid of the fibs. A couple of different things. Within our swing trade time frame, right? The 3 to 21 days. It's going to be, you can see over here, there are a couple of different things. First of all, true, there is a flag. I mean, we could say this, many of you are saying this. There's a flag right there. Within that flag, though, there's actually another pattern within here too. I'm going to really kind of zoom in to show you this. And you'll get this sometimes when there's a lot of strength. And that is this. If I look at this range right here, this is like what they refer to as what could be known as a breakaway gap. And that breakaway gap is simply you take a range off the bottom in terms of the high, you run right to that level here. You take this range in, P for short, for price, and you add that same price level up top here. Now that is a shorter term target relative to the flag pattern. And what I want to do is just put them both on the chart so we can see them. I'm going to just adjust this. I'm going to pull my indicators down, give us kind of a bigger screen to look at. And how I'm going to do that, I'm going to just use the Thinkorswim tools again, that diagonal line, to highlight this really quickly. So I go up to this level, click on it one time. I'm going to duplicate it. And this is our gap move. Okay, so we could potentially move the distance from the bottom to the top of the gap and then the bottom of the gap up to the top of the move. Look where that puts us, right squarely or darn near close to 240. Okay, now the other pattern, I'm going to change the colors here. I've got a few things going on, and traders will like to look at this oftentimes because there could just be more indications of potential bullishness going forward. I went ahead and just did a kind of a spaced line here. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this and a dashed line, I should say, right there. So let me pull it down so you can see targets. 240, folks, darn near right at 240 and very, very close to 250. So if this began to break out or to break higher, we could look at that. Now, super, super key point. Really key point. And that is this. Is that swing trade move? If it happens here, could it occur before earnings? And the answer to that is yes. Now, there's no guarantee that it will happen at that time, but a lot of times these shorter term moves, if they start to run, and a lot of times the first leg of the move might be equal in time to the next leg of the move. And how many bars did we have here? So if I click on it, you can see to the top from the bottom about 8 bars. Well, that fits perfectly within our range. Now that's the flag pattern. The gap up is this 5 bars. If we started to get moving, well, 5, 8 bars, they're well within the 3 to 21 bars. Okay. So we could say that there are the makings of a swing type trade in here. Again, that swing trade, folks, is simply just trading these moves within the one that I didn't even draw yet, which is the larger term. But we're not done. We've got one more to do because when you got all three, you got to keep eyes on them because there could be actually 3 separate targets over here. I'm just going to leave those colors the same, but here we go. That's the bigger one. But remember, we take this one and I'm just going to activate this and drag it over just to show you another way to do this. Oh, it's going to extend above our 250. Where does it go to? 260. So 240, 250, and right near 260 for the longer term move. But, and this is a big point, is that within this move, there might be more than one. What if we came up here to our gap, our measurement gap? We hit it, we come down again, we could have another leg up, but earnings. So we're kind of planning things out. Okay, quick question in the chat. Oops, sorry. Quick question in the chat. Yeah, Chaikin money flow or the regular. Now, the Chaikin money flow is very similar. It has a momentum component, what Rita's referring to as this. And I would actually say that Rita, it's very, very similar to it's kind of like an RSI combination with money flow is what the Chaikin money flow is. In fact, we can click on it right here. It'll give us that breakdown. But it is looking at there is a another component to it, which is more of a momentum type component. There's the Chaikin money flow. But I've known people that just bag the RSI and the money flow and just make them into one. It gives you the combination of the two. I sort of like to separate them to see if there's one that's outperforming and one that isn't, or if they're both in line. But this is very, very similar. It's not the same RSI calculation. And you'll notice one thing over here. The RSI calculation is a 14, whereas the Chaikin money flow is a 21. Okay, that's more like a half moon cycle, and this is like a full monthly cycle in the 21. 28 days being a lunar cycle there. But it's about a full month and a sort of a half a month in there as well. Good question though. I have used it in the past. I think it is a fascinating one. I think it could be useful, but it just combines the two, which some traders do absolutely prefer. Okay, and I think we're all caught up. And by the way, I did notice the chat. Were you guys seeing that too? It said chat disconnected, and then it would say reconnected, but I think we're good. So I'm sure getting the chats coming in. All right. Yeah. Perfect. And my production crew is just letting me know that it has been stabilized. I appreciate that. Thanks for that. I was worried if my chats aren't going through or vice versa. So perfect. Yeah. So there could be, we've been dragging for a very, very long time in NVIDIA. Actually, over here, that was October of last year. Yeah, that's right. Pre-Halloween, kind of in a sideways channel. And so there could be some things in store. So we didn't want to really, miss this. And by the way, the alerts that we talked about previously as well. I'm going to do one last thing. I'm going to zoom in on this and just show you that if we get maybe a close above the high of that low day, or let us know if we break above it, I am just simply going to put an alert in here. And I'll just say like a hold, close above the high of the low day on the pullback, question mark. Let me know. Let me know via text, whatever the case might be is. Okay. So with that, we've gotten that. Now, folks, just a quick note too. If we wanted to extend this out, and if we wanted to say, well, what if we're looking for a longer term sort of a move over here, and we're okay even if it consolidates a little bit longer? Well, one of the things that some traders might do is they might elect to maybe even sell an option position on here. Let's say maybe sell a put that is bullish and neutral, bullish to neutral, right? And so in other words, maybe they're selling something. I just want to look at the 200, for example. Maybe they're okay owning it at 200. Um, a lot of times traders they're just looking for the price of a stock to, go up as much as it wants, sideways or down to a degree, and still collect. I put that right to 200, but maybe just above 200. Um, but they're looking for that kind of movement. So there's three ways it could go, not just one, and then they could still bring in some premium from that. Although, as we mentioned earlier, short options can be assigned at any time. In fact, let me just quickly hit that again. Just a quick note here. Short option can be assigned at any time up to expiration, regardless of the in the money amount. ITM option has a high risk of being assigned early. A short put risk purchasing the underlying stock at the strike price when the market price of the stock will likely be lower. Now, um, a quick note on this is that if the price of the stock were to go below 200, yeah, then it's, I mean, very likely, incredibly likely that you'll be assigned shares there too. Some people are fine owning at 200, but that's 100 shares, one contract, standard equity options contract, equivalent to 100 shares of stock. And by the way, that's ahead of earnings. But what if we did one? This is actually post the regular monthly option cycle. So if I go to my trade tab here, and ooh, there it is. Gosh, there's only 10 days left, but it is it's before earnings. So that's not a lot there, but let's just see what those 200s are going for if somebody was just looking to participate. Just be mindful of short-term options. They can be volatile as well. But there it is. It's 56. So what does that mean? If I click on it, and by the way, traders will oftentimes look for a very good spread between the bid and the ask on these options first. Open interest being high. This is in the tens of thousands. It's already in the thousands for volume. And the volume over here is at 71 million and counting. So it does kind of meet a lot of those liquidity metrics, and you can see it's a very tight range. So if I just go over here and say, I'm going to confirm and send this, what does this mean? Well, for people that do sell puts, they would say that, um, you know, receiving roughly this, be mindful of, commissions, but $56. The buying power effect is 4,000. Of course, it's something to be mindful of, to look at that. And then in addition, if it were to get assigned to us and the stock were to go to zero, that's where that number's coming from. So it's kind of a big number, but keep in mind that does imply that NVIDIA goes to zero as well, and that you don't get out of it either if the markets are open. So a few different things going on there. I'm just going to do it as an example trade just to show people that some might do this. Now, are there ways to minimize this? Yes, we could also buy, for example, an option even down here, but it's going to cut our premium down. But watch this. If I sell this one and I hold the control button down on the keyboard, I go to 190. That's a 10 wide though. Okay, I only get a 32-cent credit, but the buying power effect drops substantially here, doesn't it? So if I go to edit and I put that up to 2 contracts, well, now I'm actually above my yeah, I'm above the level I was selling in terms of the premium at the 200, which I was going to say about 56. Now I'm at 64, and notice the buying power effect is quite a bit less already. So I'm just going to send that on through, boom, and we'll just see if that gets a fill. Okay, but it does. And by the way, that same amount, the loss on it was actually also capped too at the 190 level, as opposed to all the way down to zero, in case there was a big move to the downside. Okay, want to throw that out there because we can do those kind of things too, if we were just waiting for prices to move up, for example. Okay, want to throw it out. And let's do this. Cisco has earnings coming up, but it too is, in fact, that's tomorrow. 12th, yeah, it's tomorrow. But you can see the long-term flag over here, kind of interesting as well. I was actually I had a measured move in place as one projected type of a setup over here. Now for the wild card, which is not really technology, but I want to throw it out here anyways. This is GM, not GE, but GM. You can see it's breaking above and holding above those levels, and then right there, bouncing. So this too Long upward move, folks, long consolidation, but within the consolidation, could there be some swings that we could hit right here and here? That's tough to see through all those arrows, but what I'm showing you is what you guys already know, which is that flag right there, the flag pattern coming up. Now, this one's already starting to move a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and do this. It hasn't broken above this high, but what I'll do on this one, because it is that flag, but I'm going to go right click. We'll just do 50 shares on this one. And let's say if it breaks higher, somebody might want to, add another 50. For example, that could be an approach. Okay. I'm going to set this up to the century mark right at 100. I'm going to put this one down to about 85, and we'll link this up, type in 50 and tab through. Oh, did I not? There it goes. Okay. So now it's linked up, and always confirm what you've got here. The order dialog box. I'll send it through, and there we have it. Okay, so that is our swing trade setup. Oh, I should have gone through and pointed this out. Let me just do it real quick. But this move off the bottom here puts us right up to the big round number, which oftentimes, some traders will say if you can get above the lower 90s, dot, dot, dot. Sometimes stocks get kind of sucked up to 100. They've noticed that. I've seen it a little bit myself, but there is a shorter term swing within there. Now we've got that in store and set up. Okay. I did put that stop just below this range in here in case it were to fake out and go lower as an example trade. Okay, by the way, there is a survey link in the chat, folks. If you get a chance to fill that out, that'd be great. Just 2 questions, and then comments, 1 if you hated it, 10 if you liked it. And yeah, I appreciate that if you're able to do that. Also, smash the like button if you're getting value out of this discussion. The last 5 minutes, we're gonna bring in a little bit from our discussion in the Think Script class last week. It was a really complex script, but I did want to show people how it could be utilized on a swing trade basis as well. So just for a few minutes, I want to go into that. We have that class on there. Like I said, it was the most complex script I've done, challenging just to get through it all. It's so big, but it is fascinating in terms of volume. In addition, folks, if you're not subscribed to our channel, smash that subscribe button and subscribe to Trader Talks. But with that, there is a couple of, let's pull up this stock here. So this is CoreWeave. This company has earnings after hours. Gosh, well, we timed that right to after hours, but you can see the little jump up here. Quick note, they do have negative earnings, I noticed across the board. There's a minus sign across the board through here, but do you see this? It also has like some longer term support right around that 70 level, which is interesting. I mean, the last few times we've been off there, we've bounced off it. We've bounced off it again. Will we bounce off it again? Question. That remains to be seen. I talked on Thursday about a volume trend indicator by Big Beluga. It's a very popular one. Oh, there's the fill on GM. It's a very popular indicator, and in the market right there. And I just shared the link to it in that class. I'm going to share it again so you guys have it, but I'm going to put it on right now. He or she mentioned that they were using it on a 15-minute is where they like to use it, a 15-minute chart. And you'll notice over here, this breakup, it's another way to help quantify, do we think that this is a pullback, and is it possibly more likely to go up? Well, what the individual does is in this is they look for volume, and they're trying to capture kind of, I don't know if it's tied into the name of Big Beluga, but they're trying to find what the big whales are doing, right? Or what the whales are doing. In other words, is there more than 60% buyers? 60%, I guess, greater than or equal to is the way that I've set up the scan. But we're looking for this pullback. We're trying to judge, is there going to be a follow through here, right? And using volume buying to give us some clues and maybe even what's happening ahead of earnings. I'm going to go ahead and add it in right there. I'll share it with you. And let's just go ahead right now. volume trend order block engine. It's kind of an extensive name in there. Here it is right here. Again, think scripts aren't guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy, folks. I'm just going to give you a rundown on how that works as well. It is really, really tricky to kind of go through all the details, but I mean, you can try to find, as I mentioned in that class last weekend, there is some information online, but this is the indicator. And again, I showed you earlier how to get that posted, I mean, put on your, it's there to copy it, showed you how to add it into your charts. But if I add this in now, you'll notice over here, what it's doing is it has identified an interesting move off the bottom. In fact, this last move up, because it's identifying here basically 7 days before, 7 days after, it's saying, is there a pivot bounce? And based on that, what does the volume look like based on buying and selling? So it's an estimation of that. 84%, 16%, so quite a few buyers in here. This last little pullback that you can see as we took out that upper channel, it's built on the super trend. I don't want to throw too much stuff at you, but if you did want to get involved in it, there is our NVIDIA. If you did want to get involved in this, you could dive in deeper, is what I'm getting at. But this just suggests, hey, there is buying pressure in here, and there could be a move to the upside. Okay. Let's see. There was another one in here. By the way, our focus today is on technology, and so that's what I'm focusing on. This is CoreWeave is different. This is NXPI. NXPI has a smaller kind of a formation off the bottom, but there has been some indications of stronger buying in here, buys versus sells. You guys can see right there, okay? Let's pull it back so you can kind of see it, but see how it's really quite small off the bottom? But if it were to start to break up higher, people could be looking at that. But it's interesting because over the last 20 bars, which is the way that I've been looking at this, is where we've got it. But yeah, so it's just called I just posted it in the chat. It's called the volume trend. Let's get the whole name. Volume trend. Oh, I flipped off the thing. Here we go. Let's go back to it's right there. Block engine. Trend order block engine by Big Beluga. Okay, so I just shared it with everybody. So you've got it. I'm also going to share with you the scan as well. And that is this one right here. And so I'll put this, again, not guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy, but this just looks within 20 days of that bullish breakout range. I wanted to share it with you again. There was a little bit of confusion last week, to say the least, on it when I went through it, but happy to go through it again this week in that class. But there you go. And again, remember when you paste these, as I showed earlier in our discussion, you would then find it in the scan after you save it there. It's in the scan. It's not a chart filter. It's not a chart indicator, right? So you have to go into the scan and find that one. Just to make that distinction. All right, everybody. Well, I wanted to throw that in there towards the end just to show you a few little cool things that are we're able to take a look at here. There's another one here, ROP, Roper Technology, and here's one that kind of is a little bit of a cup and handle-ish. But I just got these through the scanning through the NASDAQ 100. On that note, everybody, it was been good to be with you today. And again, like today's presentation. If you got value out of it, be sure to follow Brent and I on X. It's good to be here with you today. You guys take care, and see you next time. Thank you.